Welcome to Smartexpo, the virtual live expo for Sub-Saharan Africa and Indian Ocean Islands for telcos, mobile operators, and service providers. I see many attendees have joined the event. That's wonderful to see. In fact, I see a number of attendees from our French-speaking countries. I wonder, I'm just going to invite Avnish to come in here and give you a greeting in French. Avnish, are you there? Okay, Preggie, you need to hide your camera, please. Preggie, thank you. Looking for Avnish.
Yes, I'm here. John?
Yeah, would you like to just give a quick greeting in French to our attendees?
Bonjour tout le monde. Je suis Avnish Bogiroti. Je voudrais juste vous informer que l'équipe Smartexpo travaille actuellement sur une version française. Cette version française de Smartexpo sera délivrée dans les pays francophones du continent africain. Nous vous communiquerons plus de détails dans les prochaines éditions. Pour l'heure, je vous laisse en compagnie de John. Merci. John, over to you.
Thank you very much, Avnish. Thanks for that. It's always nice to hear. All right, so here we are back on the main presentation, and I'm going to introduce myself to you firstly. My name is John Comley, and I am the Chief Sales and Marketing Officer for Core to Africa. With me today on Smartexpo is Denise Mzak. She is the Chief Event Coordinator for Smartexpo. Right, so the agenda today, we're going to just talk to you about what Smartexpo is. For those of you that are new to Smartexpo, we're just going to explain exactly what it is and how it should benefit you. We're then going to go through a quick snapshot, a framing of networks. Why are we using this as a theme for today? We then have 4 speakers lined up. Fantastic. We have Preggie Govender from Oracle Communications. We have Dewald Botha from Extreme Networks, Malcolm Stewart from Cisco Systems, and then Waseem Ebrahim from Juniper Networks. If you were on the Smartexpo 2 weeks ago, you would have seen Waseem's presentation there. And finally, for the day, we close off with a spin to win, which is really fun, where you can stand to win a $100 Amazon gift voucher. You've got to be in it to win it, so stay till the end and see if you win this $100 Amazon gift voucher. Right, so about Smartexpo, let me just firstly tell you why Smartexpo came about. It was really to overcome the restrictions put in place by the COVID-19 pandemic, and it was a case of wanting to bring technology updates to telcos, service providers, and mobile operators during these lockdown periods. And also to get some face time with our joint customers, where we get to share the platform with our OEMs, our original equipment manufacturers, and we both get to talk to you, so to speak, at the same time. What we bring to you, our customer, the latest trends, technology updates, product updates, and hopefully a live expo feel. This is a live expo today. What our original equipment manufacturers bring to you, short 15-minute updates, contact with their key engineers. So these are people that are going to be talking to you today that have all the expertise needed, and you have contact with them. I'll talk about it just now, but you're able to get all their contact information to contact them after the expo. Smart guides, the info packs, where details of all the products or services listed in their presentations have been documented for you to download. Deep dive opportunities, you can request a deep dive from any of these OEM presenters and obviously ask them a one-on-one question in terms of what they presented to you today. Importantly, we have a main sponsor, Core to Africa. A lot of effort and time has gone into putting Smartexpo together to be able to bring to you these technology updates with our OEMs, and our thanks to Core to Africa. We'll talk about that a bit later, but right now just recognizing them for what they've done. So Smartexpo Networks overview. Really, as the network has evolved, services have become more abstracted. And what that means is the network is not as complex due to the abstraction of services, but it's become more critical due to the services that are being carried on the network, so, particularly with the onset of the internet, the IoT. So there's a very real cost to downtime, and there's a greater need for reliability, network equipment quality, and network equipment support. So both of these, hopefully, you're going to hear from our OEMs today in terms of what they've got to offer, in terms of the quality of their equipment and the support they offer to make sure that your network is what it's meant to be. We move on to the meat of Smartexpo, which is the delivered at Smartexpo, where we have 4 OEMs presenting to you their products today. These are 15-minute power pack presentations. We don't have a question and answer session just due to the format. It's quite difficult to handle Q&A. As I said earlier, you will be able to ask questions directly with the presenters after the expo. So the post-event access is that you'll be able to replay this event. There will be smart guide downloads of each presentation, request a technical deep dive session, ask a question of any speaker. So that's what we have for you today, and that is what the archive looks like. So when you click on the archive, we'll send you an email after the event. That's what the network's archive will look like. There's the recording. That is the smart guide, the deep dive, and ask a question. And just to show you what the smart guide looks like, there we have Dewald, one of our presenters today, with all the products that he will be speaking about. All right, so first up today, we have Preggie Govender. Preggie Govender is giving a presentation on, now I had to practice this and I might get it wrong, it's quite a long title, Market Leading Session Border Control for Future Generation IP Real-Time Communications Services and Applications. I got that out in one sentence. All right, so let me introduce Preggie to you before he takes over control. Preggie Govender has 25 years work experience in the telecommunications industry. He joined Oracle Communications in 2019. Previously, Preggie worked for various operators, OEMs, and system integrators, including Telkom, Siemens, Genband, and Grintec Telecom. Preggie has a vast general experience in both fixed and mobile networks from access to core. And interestingly, he was responsible for IT, telecoms, and broadcasting for FIFA 2010 World Cup. Right, so please welcome Preggie Govender, and I'll repeat his title again, Market Leading Session Border Control for Future Generation IP Real-Time Communication Services and Applications. Preggie, I'm going to hand control over to you.
Okay, guys, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can't see your presentation yet, so you need to click on the little share screen button. There we go. Perfect, thank you.
Right, is everything fine?
Yeah, we can hear you and see you. Thank you.
Okay, I just want to quickly. Good morning. It's Preggie Govender. Thanks, John, for the introduction. I'm working in Oracle Communications and responsible for Sub-Saharan Africa and Indian Ocean Islands. I'm based in Johannesburg, and as John said, my contact details will be shared later. So if you want to speak to me in one-on-one, I'm happy to do that. And today I'm going to be talking about session border controllers and how it's applicable regarding the topic that we're talking about today, and especially in the world that we're living in this age. So Oracle SBCs in the marketplace, I think, John, I saw you on your presentation or the pack. You actually put a little link to say Acme Packet. So in the early 2000s, Acme Packet, which is the company that Oracle bought, coined the term SBC, and they realized back in those early days that service providers needed to have a product such as this in order to change IP communications from what they were doing internally to also externally. And there was a number of different challenges which I'll go through, which they picked up and then obviously developed a product around it. And keeping this in mind, they've from the 2000s, they've developed this product into a world-class solution, and it's been deployed in over 2,300 customers worldwide. I mean, it's almost 20 years now that they've done this, and every year, it still amazes me that there's new things that we can develop and bring forward to make sure that the product is relevant and still providing solutions for customers that are needed. Oracle received the most #1 rankings in a recent survey with customer satisfaction. Like I said, the product is very mature. It's been around from the 2000s. In terms of, let's have a look at what solutions the product actually provides. So, firstly, in terms of cloud evolution, the product is moving towards the cloud. There's a big push for it, especially from an Oracle perspective. I mean, one of the big things that Oracle bring to the party in terms of their involvement in the whole equation is bringing that whole cloud native and cloud ability that they've been building over the years, enabling these various different products to move into that space. Voice over 5G, it's a very relevant topic now. A lot of operators across the world are deploying voice in 5G networks. Of course, voice is one of them. And initially, it'll be deployed using the 4G core, and then moving towards standalone solution in future. This is something we're tracking as a solution as Oracle. Of course, converged IMS, solutions such as VoLTE, voice over Wi-Fi, etc. And then your traditional business services from a SIP trunking perspective, hosted contact center, hosted UC, and then interconnect and SIP interconnects. And together with this, the glue that Oracle brings in is to tie it all together with the virtualization that I mentioned earlier, as well as complete network visibility and central management and compliance. So why SBCs? I think from a technology perspective, IP networks are inherently insecure. And what the SBC allows you to do is to secure your networks. So, when people talk about it and they don't understand the product itself, one of the easiest ways to say, guys understand firewalls. And an SBC is a firewall for voice. And it does a number of other functions beside that. So, it also does netting, provides interoperability between different type of codecs and other protocols that exist, as well as trying to change sessions between different places. So maybe on the one side you could have SIP, on the other side you could have something like H.323 or other protocols. As well as, in this day and age with denial of service attacks, so call admission control in terms of bandwidth limiting is also quite important, as well as quality of service. And obviously the regulatory compliance when it comes with this. So there's a number of things in terms of regulatory compliance. Obviously, the most important is legal intercept, which is a requirement for most service providers, as well as emergency fallback services such as E911. Like I mentioned earlier, the original SPC was made by Acme Packet, and they actually invented this product in the 2000s. So many people don't know that it was Acme Packet that Oracle bought. So, sometimes use both the names. The product still exists internally as that. And what they were really doing is to try and pragmatically provide some sort of solution for service providers to enable them to do interconnect voice and so forth and to move forward. But over time, what has happened with the SPC, it's become almost like a Swiss Army knife. It's something that's completely independent from different vendors and used by many different peoples, as well as being multifaceted and versatile, like a Swiss Army knife. So it's really a thing you put into your network where nowadays you can actually use it to solve problems. So a lot of interoperability issues and so forth, like we spoke about. And I've got some examples later on. In terms of voice over LTE, voice over LTE is in the rise. These are some of the stats from the GSMA. Most operators now are looking at have moved away from 2G and 3G networks and looking at LTE. And based on the recent views of what's going to be happening with voice over in 5G, that initially it will be using voice over LTE or the 4G core. So there's still a place for this. and the guys have still some time to develop their VoIP solutions. Just in a quick glance, the slide is really showing where Oracle Communications obviously has a lot of different products and portfolio, a large portfolio specifically for communication service providers, or CSPs as you call them these days. And the SBC fits into this part specifically around providing the interconnect and security and fraud. So the way that SBCs are generally deployed in service providers, obviously its name gives it away to some extent. Obviously, it's a border controller. So they sit at two different parts of the network and the access borders. So the access borders is defined as the border between your clients and your network. And generally, you want this to be kind of a cookie cutter solution, so something that's the same, so that customers fit into this. So it's almost like you're trying to fit your customer into a specific type of behavior. And then you interconnect borders. The interconnect borders are between service providers, and this generally can be a lot different. Going into a little bit more detail about the different types of functions of an access and interconnect SBC. So an access SBC basically connects the end users to the services, and the services include things like IMS or VoLTE, voice over LTE, in normal business and consumer VoIP, and then SIP trunking as well from a customer perspective. And the business value is really to try and consolidate and your infrastructure, as well as protect everything from that perspective. Like I said earlier, it's really a cookie cutter solution, so it's trying to keep your access in one single point. Interconnect SBC is the other options that's available. So really, this is between your network and other service providers. So it could be traditionally from a PSTN perspective, so connecting to your traditional PSTN network that may have some TDM sometimes, and to interconnect your customers to allow them to make voice calls into that part of the network. And then things like bilateral billing and peering. And there's also support for IPX, which is a 3GPP standard for VoIP interconnect globally. And this is what we also support. Another function that an interconnect SBC does, which is quite important, is sometimes transcoding. If you look at, for example, on a mobile network, you have specific codecs that you would use, like SOC, etc. And then on the PSTN network, they won't use these types of codecs. So obviously, you need some sort of transcoding. So this is what an interconnect SBC will do in addition to that, is to provide that function to do interconnect, to do transcoding. Another interesting application that that's quite relevant these days, especially with COVID and everybody working from home, as such, we're having this presentation as well using such technology. So Microsoft Teams is a UC platform in the cloud. It's a evolution of Skype for Business, and it really comes back from adding in a lot more additional functionality from that Skype for Business has, and Microsoft have got now a new way to actually launch it, and they're calling it now Office 365 and includes Skype. And interesting enough, during this time with people working from home, last week I saw some stats that Skype, Microsoft Teams has reached more than 800 million subscribers in one single day, which is quite a lot. So this kind of applications are growing a lot. So how can Oracle? So Oracle have been working with Microsoft for the last sort of 10 years, from the time they had the Link solution up to now with Teams. And really what we do with Microsoft Teams solution is to provide a single point for the carrier, an integration back into Microsoft and the various different options that they have, and trying to monetize or putting things in place to monetize the service provider's network by providing Teams clients with your service provider, your own number, as well as an interconnect for that customer a Teams customer using your number, so an interconnect into other operators. So then you can get some revenue out of that. And then it's a single trunk from both the service provider and then multiple trunks to different customers. So it's one solution, you set it up and it can scale. And we obviously an approved, you have to be approved vendor to work with Microsoft, and we're one of the approved vendors for Teams. In terms of deployment, so the deployment of the Oracle SBCs varies different options. So we can do a physical network function, which is traditionally Oracle hardware and software. And then there's also a virtualized function as well. So there's various different ways you can do it, as well as being able to run both in the private and public cloud infrastructure. So obviously, in Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, the solution works, as well as in Azure and Amazon Web Services. So moving on to 5G. So 5G, like I mentioned earlier, is quite relevant. We're seeing a lot of operators, especially during this time, we're seeing a lot of tenders being put out there. A lot of operators looking at it. And really what 5G is, it's a next evolution from, it's 10 to 100 times more than what LTE is currently, and all the other wonderful things that it promises. And I think obviously it's a lot more bandwidth than we currently have. And there's some nice, interesting applications. John spoke about IoT and things like connected cars, one of the big applications for 5G. So 5G is coming. A lot of guys are rolling around and testing it. And it's something that we need to be aware of. The voice over 5G, as I mentioned earlier, is initially going to be voice over LTE. So the operators will use the 4G core to actually provide the service, and then as the standards evolve and it becomes what we call voice over new radio, or VoNR, we'll continue to support that equivalent and going forward using the same SVC. Just a quick slide to kind of summarize what an SBC does. So, an SBC from a various perspectives provides all these functionalities. It's a plethora of functionalities that's available. And like I said earlier in one of the slides, it's really a Swiss Army knife to try and get things going from a session perspective. Some of the investment that Oracle has made over the years that have made us the market leading is that out of the SVC product line of session products the guys have spawned a lot of different products. So there's session load balancers, session routers, core session managers, and all these things are tied into session control itself. We have over 280 engineers that are dedicated for the SBC research and development, and obviously a lot of people that support it from a support perspective. And then it's integration into other products that we have, such as our DSR, or PCRF, and our OSS and BSS. The key takeaways is basically, our Oracle SBC is leveraging integrated architecture. It provides the cornerstone of your current infrastructure and any IP real-time communications. We have a comprehensive portfolio that can be used for service providers to deliver services. And if the service provider is looking to do fully virtualized intelligent networks, we're moving in that direction. And lastly, it provides a foundation for future services such as voice over 5G. I want to thank you there, John. Hopefully I did it in time, I think.
Thank you very much, Preggie. I appreciate that. I'm going to take control back from you. Thank you so much. Let me just make myself the organizer. Here we go. Right, so Preggie, thank you very much for that. Really good to get to learn a little bit more about these amazing products, session border controllers. I know that they in most networks today and do a fantastic service in transporting voice across the network, but certainly I learned a lot from the presentation. Thank you for that. And it's going to be very interesting to see moving forward the role of session border controllers as we go to voice over 5G. So thank you very much, Preggie. Great presentation. Right, so next up we have Dewald Botha. Dewald is with Extreme. I'm going to introduce him to you. So Dewald Botha has been part of the ICT industry for over a decade and has worked for various companies in the private sector and in distribution. Dewald has completed many industry recognized certifications throughout his career. Later, he specialized in building networking solutions for a multitude of reputable clients, ranging from SMEs, tertiary institutions, ISPs, and mines across the African continent. As an ECE, which is Extreme Certified Expert with years of practical experience, Dewald was in a great position to join Extreme Networks in 2018 to support the South African channel and to link the needs of customers and partners to expertise from around the globe. Now, interestingly, in his spare time, Dewald enjoys playing guitar and exercising, and is also a South African Masters weightlifting athlete, where in 2019 he won silver in his division at national level. Not a guy to mess with. Dewald, let's welcome him with his presentation and introduction to Extreme Networks. Let me get you up here, Dewald. I'm going to share my screen with you. Share the, give me 1 second, panelists, here we go. Dewald, so
thank you very much.
Right, Dewald, we can see you. We can't see your presentation yet. Just share a few blocks down your screen and we should see you then.
Do you see it now?
Yeah,
Not yet?
See it now. Perfect.
Perfect.
We can hear you
All
and
right.
see you. Please proceed. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much, John, and a very good morning to everyone that have joined us. Special thank you to the team from Smartexpo for hosting this event. It really is something special. And as you now know, my name is Dewald, and I'm a senior systems engineer at Extreme Networks. And I'm sure that over the last 2 to 3 years, you have been hearing a lot about digital transformation. The truth of the matter is the only constant is change, and having a digital transformation strategy and implementation plan is not the finish line. The network needs to evolve from being an enabler of IT to enabling the business. And with more and more devices being added to the network and the demand for instant information delivery, we need to be ready by arming ourselves with innovative products and tools that are aligned with advancing business goals. And Extreme Networks has been an innovator in the networking industry since 1996. We were the first to build 1 gig Ethernet, and recently we have launched the industry's only 4th gen cloud management architecture. With over 50,000 customers worldwide, we are proud to have 100% in-sourced support and distribution facilities in each major region. We strive toward building lasting relationships with our customers and partners and working alongside them to reach their networking and business goals. We have also been very proud to partner with some amazing companies here in Southern Africa and across the globe. We have built personal relationships with these companies and continue to support and assist where and as needed. As you can see, our customers cover most major industries and products from the entirety of our portfolio. Today, we will take just a few moments to introduce some of the latest technology innovations that are providing to make a huge difference in not only operational costs, but also implementation times and required expertise in the service provider space. And for the next couple of minutes, this is what our agenda will be looking like. I will introduce 2 products and 2 features that we are very excited about. We will start with a quick glance at our product portfolio and then delve into the extended edge. Thereafter, we look at our high density 100 gigabyte offering and a quick dip into 2 features on our SLX series switches, Insight and Fabric Automation. So with that, let's start. And as one of the leaders in the network world, we pride ourselves on offering a full end-to-end portfolio, spanning from a controllerless cloud-managed Gen 6 wireless to 100 gig data centers and border routing solutions. I thought it would be an interesting session to go from our latest wired edge solution to the internet border, where we are seeing huge impacts being made by our SLX series switches. Without further ado, let's jump into that extended edge. As we know, and as John has also mentioned, The network keeps evolving and becoming more and more complex. And to address this, we engineered a solution that we call the extended edge switches. These are compact, fanless, and hardened devices that can draw power directly from the top of rack switch while still providing PoE plus to endpoints. They are bridge extenders, which means they are able to extend the features and functions of core or aggregation switches directly to the edge. So there is no need for additional IP addresses or special pre-configuration, as these switches are simply plug and play. So goodbye to dear designs and hello to centralized configuration and simplicity. And here are some really cool use cases. From the enterprise to retail, as buildings grow or we need pop-up sites, we can easily deploy the extended edge to supply connectivity for IoT, BMS, or point-of-sale devices. Because services are extended from a controlling switch, we can very quickly and simply deploy security policies or multi-tenant configuration. We see benefits in the manufacturing or harsh environments where hardened rail-mounted edge connectivity is required with loop-based architecture and centralized management. And of course, in complex multicast networks such as citywide CCTV or even service provider edge, where metro aggregation can extend intelligence and scale to the edge with a significantly reduced time to service. And with that, we are back to our portfolio. Our next product is on the other side of the spectrum. Our SLX 9740 is the latest addition to the Extreme Routing family. And I'm very excited to introduce you to the SLX 9740. It's our high density native 100 gig router in a very small form factor. Continuing the success of our SLX architecture, we built the switch on a Unix base. So that allows us to separate the packet processing from switch operating system and introduce 2 guest VMs, which enables us to host custom third-party applications without having any impact on switch performance. With super deep buffers and a full-featured and versatile pipeline, we have seen the market react very positively, especially considering that we are pricing it at a very competitive level. And with our OptiScale technology for routing, you can process millions of IPv4 and v6 routes. So we can see massive benefits for our service provider customers. It is our flagship router that can host 40 or even 80 native 100 gig ports for IXPs, ISPs. We see it also in data center spines, as well as DC interconnects. And this is where we're going to be delving a little bit more into those 2 features I spoke about earlier on the SLX series family switches. First up is what we call Insight architecture. One of the guest VMs that are on the SLX switches allows you to host third-party tools and even operating systems. This is done to meet network operational needs without the need for additional hardware. So you can load tools you need to troubleshoot issues on the network directly from the switch instead of having a jump box or an engineer go out on site. So Insight also has a dedicated 10 gig path instead of sharing resources. So there will be no impact on switch performance. And with integrated application hosting directly from the switch, the ability to have deeper insights and analysis of the network, the value to you is almost endless. An awesome recent use case was where we assisted a customer in loading a Palo Alto virtual firewall directly onto the switch. This provided them with secure edge connectivity at their branch sites. And being able to quickly deploy tools like Wireshark from the nodes in the network will drastically improve mean time to resolution and mean time to innocence. And from this game-changing innovation to the next, extreme fabric automation. A critical driver in the networking field is automation. And at absolutely zero cost, we offer EFA, Extreme Fabric Automation, to our SLX customers as either built onto the switch or as a VM to deploy as external software. The beauty of Extreme Fabric Automation is that it is microservices-based architecture, where any orchestration tool can be harnessed to automate functions and to provide a ton of flexibility in how you add services and features. It includes a microservices-based ecosystem with built-in integration with OpenStack, VMware vCenter, and Hyper-V, Microsoft Hyper-V. And with foundational microservices built into the switch as well, that can automate the deployment of zero-day architecture from simple flat data centers to 3-clo and 5-clo fabric within minutes. And for a very popular virtual orchestrator like vCenter, you can simply tie in Extreme Fabric Automation with the APIs that are available with vSphere SDK. So with integrated services running inside of EFA, updates via events, events configuration, or periodical queries can automate synchronization from the virtual architecture to the data center fabric. So tenant services that are tied to, for example, ports, VLANs, or VRFs become basically unencumbered with dynamic provisioning. So when vMotion moves a virtual machine from one switch node across the data center leaf edge, network services will be dynamically provisioned on the other side to ensure almost zero impact or loss to the tenant service. And with no additional servers or complex, expensive orchestration, you can harness the power of automation and truly reduce operational costs. And that is what I wanted to talk about just a little bit as an introduction for us today. Look, one of the drivers in our post-digital era is that businesses need to continuously innovate and adapt to the ever-changing landscape. At Extreme, our history of innovation, adaptive agile platforms, and customer-focused solutions is why partnering with us is the key to your success. And with that, I just wanted to thank you for your time and this opportunity, and feel free to reach out to me at any time for more information. I wanted to say just thank you again to John and the guys at the Smartexpo, and enjoy the rest of it. Stay safe, healthy, and cheers for now. John, over to you.
Fantastic. Thank you for a really wonderful presentation, Dewald. Good to have you. I'm meeting you for the first time, so it's also good to meet you on camera. Thank you for your great presentation. It was really nice. It's great to hear about the entire range. We deal, obviously, we deal with your products all the time, and but not the entire range. So it was really good to see that. Extreme Inside Architecture for me was a new one, so thanks for sharing that. And of course, the fabric automation at zero cost. I think you're going to have a few customers out there listening to what's coming down the line or what's available. So that's great. Thank you very much for sharing with us.
Thank you, John.
Right, so moving on. Thank you, Dewald. Right, so up next we have Malcolm Stewart from Cisco Systems. And Malcolm is going to talk to us on converged SDN transport. Let's get that up there. Let me introduce Malcolm to you. Malcolm, obviously an ex-colleague of mine from my old Cisco days. Malcolm is a systems architect at Cisco Systems and working in the global service provider, Sub-Saharan Africa service provider architecture and consulting team. Malcolm joined Cisco in 2008. As a systems engineer, supporting strategic service providers across a broad set of SP technologies, including IP, NGN, and service provider data center. Today, as a systems architect, Malcolm focuses on service provider converged architectures, including IP optical, core edge, and carrier Ethernet, as well as innovation areas, including SDN and NFV. Before joining Cisco, Malcolm spent 9 years in various technical and architectural roles at service providers in the UK, Australia, and South Africa. Malcolm holds a CCIE certification in routing and switching and has over 20 years experience in service provider technologies and industries. So please welcome Malcolm Stewart, Converged SDN Transport, and I'm going to hand control over to Malcolm.
G'day, John. How are you today?
Good, good. Let me just hand control over to you, Malcolm. I need to just do that quickly. There we go. you should have control of the screen. We can see you, not your presentation yet. There we go. Fantastic. We can see you and hear you. Thank you, Malcolm.
Right, just bear with me one sec. Okay, so thank you very much, John, for the lovely introduction, and thank you for the invite today to speak to everybody, to all our customers on what we would like to speak on today is around the networking topic, and I'd like to introduce the audience into what we at Cisco call the converged SDN transport. In terms of an agenda, I'm going to briefly touch on some market dynamics and some challenges which have led us to develop the solution as we have. We're going to cover what the software-defined transport network is, with an overview, of some of the key features and functionality, and then end on some customer value that we get out of the solution. In terms of market dynamics, the top one in terms of explosive growth in the internet is nothing new to us. But what we have seen specifically now with COVID-19 is we've seen a large acceleration of this, which really has impacted service provider networks across the globe. We've seen from customers, up to 40–50% capacity increases. It's provided a lot of pressure and hotspots in different parts of their networks. So service providers are having to deal with a lot during this pandemic at the moment, but also the evolution of new technologies, new products are driving a lot of challenges. Some of the key challenges are around SP's economic challenges, flattened revenue growth. We look at significantly additional amount of work that the network has to do for the money that's being spent on it. With the introduction of new services, new technologies, OPEX is becoming a problem. It's becoming very complicated to be able to monitor and manage these network environments. So ultimately, what some of these challenges are doing is they're driving the SPs to need more for their capex, more for their OPEX. So they're under huge pressure to reduce OPEX, to reduce capex, but at the same time, reduce latency based on new services and capabilities coming to market, but also increase the capacity. And most of the time being driven to do that without increasing costs, and most of the time, pushing the sort of cost margin down. So service providers are looking at a need to create new revenue streams to try and monetize their infrastructures, improve the experience of services and to consumers and to customers, and at the same time being able to keep up with market trends and technology trends to get services to market fast enough. If that wasn't enough, we spoke about, and previous presenters spoke about the IoT. There's a plethora of devices starting to access the network. We need to be able to increase the trust in the network and the security. And for service providers to do this, they need to start looking at moving to more agile network infrastructures and look at service enablement, service delivery, rather than just connectivity. So with customers moving on that trend, we at Cisco are working closely with them, and we're helping them to plan, design networks for more scalability, to provide mass scale infrastructure, to provide more dynamic infrastructure to sort of meet the demand of the new services, the demand of the consumers and the customers that are connecting, to give them a platform that's flexible enough to pursue new business opportunities, to roll out new services in an effective and an efficient manner. At the same time, we need to be able to look, and service providers need to look how they simplify those operations, how they drive down those OPEX costs, and how do we do more with the architecture? How do we get more out of our capex? And how do we assist customers with that? So in line with that, I just wanted to touch on a couple of key architecture transitions that that many OEMs and customers are going through, architecture transitions that we at Cisco have been going through and are still going through to be able to deliver on the requirements and to assist our customers to be able to provide these flexible solutions and to be able to deliver services to market quicker, with better customer experience. So if we look, we see a big trend around DC to edge cloud architectures, and what's really driving that? If we look at customer experience, service providers need to provide a better customer experience. They need to provide low latency services. Technology transitions are happening with that. I mean, if we look at things like 5G coming, and we look at virtualization of that packet core, we look at technologies like CUPS, control user plane separation. What this is impacting on the network infrastructure is the requirement to start moving services closer and closer to the edge. Coupled with that, we're looking at things from a mobile perspective in terms of RAN disaggregation, right? Meaning we need telco DC architectures closer to the edge, mobile edge compute, to be able to deliver these types of services. The content delivery is being pushed closer and closer to the edge to enable those services. And coupled with that, we're looking at distributed peering and intelligent peering architectures that we at Cisco have evolved and developed to cater for these needs, right? Including tightly integrated cloud architectures to be able to deliver this. In terms of network infrastructure, and which is going to be the key component of what I wanted to talk to you about today, is needing a converged SDN transport architecture to tie all of these together, tie all of these in a cohesive manner, being able to provide any access, any service into that infrastructure, and be able to tie all of these distributed services together in an optimal way. And to do that, it is highly critical to wrap automation and orchestration around that, to be able to tie these services together, to be able to deliver these services efficiently and get services to market in an efficient and timely manner. So from a converged SDN transport side, we've built what we call the converged SDN transport, and we've taken some key components or key pillars to be able to build this architecture. First of all, we needed to develop high performance 5G ready portfolio to be able to be ready to be able to deliver at scale for these new services, including what 5G is going to bring us. We need trustworthy infrastructure to be able to secure this infrastructure based on what we see in terms of the scale of millions more devices connecting and millions more devices which are intrinsically unsecure. Cross-domain automation is key, because as seen in the previous slide, we're touching multiple different domains, multiple different technologies. To be efficient at it, we need the cross-domain automation. And then key to that is what we call software-driven simplification. So simplifying the software stack, providing a more robust, more scalable network infrastructure, and increasing the availability. And that all really is to be able to deliver on some of these key requirements in driving down OpEx, driving down CapEx, and allowing customers to flexibly get services to market a lot quicker. If I look at what we call a converged SDN transport and the overview of the architecture, there are some critical elements that we've done in developing and designing this validated solution for our customers. Right, first thing is critical is customers need to build converged networks today. The days are really gone where customers are building separate networks for separate services, for example, separate networks for mobile services, separate networks for fixed line, wireline type services. So the key is to have a converged infrastructure, and what we've done is converge, providing any access, any service. By convergence, we're converging, mobile services like 3G, 4G, 5G. We're looking at enterprise, small business type of services. We're looking at newer immersive type technology and services, things like IoT, wholesale and retail, bringing that into a single network infrastructure. To enable that, bringing all of these services in, we needed to look at simplifying the underlay of the network. And by doing that, Cisco really has led the charge in simplifying the underlay with technology like segment routing. Segment routing provides us a single unified underlay forwarding architecture end to end. And the key with that is it provides the capability to start merging all of these services in an efficient way and to be able to provide things like network slicing. So the network architecture that we design in terms of this is a foundation to provide network slicing capabilities, which would enable mobile services to move further to the edge, because network slicing is intrinsically important to be able to route traffic across the end-to-end architecture, but tightly integrated with the virtualization that's happening in the different virtualized network services and functions, which are moving far to the edge of the network. So we needed a solution that's highly programmable to be able to provide these end-to-end network slicing. Adding on top of that is looking at a unified service overlay. So in terms of the architecture, we deliver BGP EVPN services, which in essence provide layer 2 and layer 3 VPN services in a simple unified overlay, which assists in the network slicing capability. And then another key technology in there is segment routing traffic engineering to be able to provide these network slices. And we talk about network slices. What are these network slices? If we look at the new technologies, new functionalities coming, they all have different requirements, different application requirements. So with segment routing T, we're able to provision paths through the transport network mapped to the virtualized network and provide an end-to-end SLA-based architecture. For example, we could have one network slice for massive broadband, for big bandwidth connectivity. Another slice may be very delay sensitive, or sensitive for ultra reliable low latency applications, things like telemedicine, automated cars, self-driving cars, those types of things. And the other one could be for disjoint paths. There are multiple different types of network slice, but we need the technology and capability to do it, and that's why we've chosen the path of segment routing to be able to do that. I mentioned that there needs to be tight integration with the distributed data center architectures to be able to create these services from end to end. And a key capability with this is the requirement to wrap key automation components around that. As the network explodes with multiple devices, whether they're physical devices or virtualized devices, we cannot do things manually anymore. So we've introduced our network automation portfolio to be able to cover multiples of these use cases, but give customers flexibility to provide network slicing for SLA-based capabilities, but also introduce closed loop and self-healing capability for the network infrastructure. Some of the underlying key functionalities is security and trust. We've introduced hardware-based and software-based security functionality into the devices to make sure that the hardware is trusted. We validate the software components, because a lot of these devices are going to be placed far out in the network in unsecure environments. So that, together with traditional security mechanisms to harden these devices and to ensure that they are trusted devices. In terms of timing, we've developed timing capabilities in all our platforms to be able to distribute timing and synchronization and phase across the network. This is really important for mobile operators to be able to have the economies of scale and to be able to use the network to distribute these timing capabilities. At the foundation, we have our NCS and ASR product ranges, which we've validated and designed in these solutions. Please feel free to look at the smart packs for more information, or reach out to me for any more information on these products. But what's key is we've just released our latest product range, which is a Cisco 8000, delivering massive scale with 10.8 terabit in a single rack unit form factor, introducing 400 gig interface interface capabilities. Finally, I'm going to finish on this slide, really talking around the benefits and why Cisco. The solution provides, access to a rich set of services. We provide the capability through our leadership in enterprise and wireless and security technologies to assist customers to monetize their network infrastructure even further. We've taken a software-driven approach, creating open APIs on our platforms and our systems, and more importantly, to assist customers to be able to dynamically scale their networks. We've created flexible consumption models on our platforms, allowing customers to license the capacity they require at day one, and then to be able to scale that as their network scales. But more importantly as well, as we've disaggregated the software and the licensing specifically from the hardware. So as customers evolve over years and they change network platforms, those licenses are not tied to a specific piece of hardware, giving customers a lot of flexibility. I've mentioned about the secure portfolio, hardware trust in the platforms. Cross-domain automation is key. We have a wide set of automation capabilities that we can help our customers with, multi-vendor capabilities. Would love to hear from you to talk to you a little bit more about that. And then finally, we've taken an open approach, specifically in the open RAN side. So allowing customers to use their current incumbent RAN vendors as it is today, or if they prefer to go to more open vRAN type architectures, the platform supports that. And we're working with customers on delivering these. So based on that, I want to thank everybody for your time today, and look forward to hearing back from anybody to take the discussion further. So thank you very much, John and team.
Thank you, Malcolm. What a great presentation. And I think so far you've definitely won the prize for the most accurate presenter time-wise. You finished on the second of 15 minutes, so congratulations. Let me just get the screen back from you. Thank you for that. Yeah, so Malcolm, thank you so much for sharing that with us. As usual, Cisco has so much depth of information. I certainly, that one slide of yours, that market dynamic slide, was just incredible. And I'm going to go back and have a look at that in the replay. And that architecture transitioning, the transition from where you are to where we need to go in terms of that automation orchestration, I found fascinating. And such a lot of depth there, such a lot of information to pick up on. And I certainly will be replaying this presentation to myself to get a better understanding of what Cisco is offering in this space. So thank you very much, Malcolm. Great presentation. And to the attendees out there, let me say that when we put the smart guide together for Cisco, there's a lot of information in there, a lot of great product packs, smart guides, and stuff like that. So within the smart guide, there's a subdirectory for Cisco because there was just so much information which you can go and download. So Malcolm, thank you very much for sharing that with us. All right, so up next we have Waseem Ebrahim. I mentioned earlier, Waseem was on at the last event, Smartexpo Protection, gave us a great presentation, and he's on again, back by popular demand. Let me introduce Waseem to you. Got to just get my mouse going here. There we go. So Waseem Ebrahim, those of you that don't know him, haven't met him, he is a senior systems engineer and architect responsible for Juniper's service provider technical strategy and execution in sub-Saharan Africa. He is part of a team of technical experts that are responsible for assisting customers in transitioning to next generation IP networks, software-defined networking, and cloud. As a Juniper employee, Waseem places a special focus on engineering simplicity and cost optimization, and has more than 15 years of experience in the service provider industry across Africa. Please welcome Waseem Ebrahim, the self-driving network. Right, I'm going to give control to Waseem. There we go. Waseem, you should have control. Yeah, there we go. Fantastic.
Hi there, John.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Thank you. Thank you. We can see your presentation. Thank you very much. We understand you have bandwidth constraints, so we're not seeing you on a video feed but we've got your presentation up. Please proceed. Thank you.
Thank you, John, and great to be here again on the Smartexpo. So today we're gonna talk about the self-driving network. That's a bit of an agenda, and I guess it's been about 3 years now, and credit to Kiriti Kompella, who's the CTO of our engineering organization. Kiriti developed this concept of the self-driving network as an analogy to self-driving cars. So the self-driving network will accept guidance from a network operator. So let's call it high-level intent, and from there it will self-discover its parts on the network or the network. It'll self-configure. It'll self-monitor. It'll self-heal in response to failures, and it'll self-defend. So if you're keeping account on, that's another SDN, which is the self-defending network that we're looking at, and so that's sort of the concept of self-driving network from a Juniper perspective, and where it was, how it was, how we brought it up and how it was born. And we see it as the progression of sort of several technology areas. So as you can see, automation, telemetry, programmability, and declarative intent, as well as correlation and machine learning. So I've put those bars, I've put those different length bars up to represent that we're far along in some of these areas, and other areas we're just beginning. And again, the overall idea is to simplify network operations while maintaining the overall reliability and just not the excellent reliability that carriers need to deliver, our customers need to deliver. We look at reducing human error and augment human operators to free them up to do higher level activities. So that's how it is. And there's this huge concern that I've heard previously, especially in Africa, that automation is there to replace people. That's definitely not the case. Job roles changes, but it's definitely not there to replace people. We're freeing people to do more of the high level stuff and allow the nitty-gritty work to be done via automation. So let me drive into some areas and where we are. So the automation journey, and again, remember, this is a concept, but it's a concept that has real deliverables in it. So as it is with the concept, things change. So this is where we are now with the automation journey, and it begins where most operators are today. A human-driven scripting related to configurations policy, and we need more holistic workflow automation that integrates application development with the provisioning and the operation of the network. And these steps aren't necessarily sequential. There's some iteration, there's some overlap, and in the future maybe we even see some changes. So one is event-driven, which is the humans or the operator defines the event, software detects the event, and the operator responds to that event. And then there we are in the loop. And then you look at machine-driven, which is deeper telemetry with more complex algorithms making the decision with human operator as the backup or the operator as the backup. And then it's progressing to cognitive networking with adaptive machine learning that really takes advantage of the huge mountains of data that a network generates. And maybe we don't ever get to a fully autonomous network, but I think it's a good target to have off in the distance. And the idea is to apply all of these automation capabilities and technologies to the network lifecycle. So it's to simplify, streamline, and automate as many of these process and sub-processes you can. One point I do want to touch on is telemetry. So basically, if you look at the broader context of the economy, we think that companies don't use all the data to its full potential, whether it's internal operations or products and services that they sell, or customer service will fall behind the companies that do. Networks produce mountains of data, and we're just starting to scratch the surface in using it. And and improving telemetry is the beginning of this for networks. The old model is based on pull, so we use SNMP, we use CLI to periodically poll the network elements, and this is inefficient and it doesn't scale well. So at Juniper, the Junos telemetry interface flips us around, and we rely on a push model that delivers streaming telemetry data directly from the data plane to a collector downstream. And with this, you can monitor thousands of devices in a network in a granular way. And you have the potential for much better processing, analytics, and capabilities. And you can understand the network in real time. So, and then if you look at correlation or multimodal views of what's going on, we need to correlate data sources across geographies, across time, across different layers of the network to get a full picture, and zoom in on, I think what I could call is trouble spots as they come up, and zoom out when the problem is resolved. So let's say you see a spike in traffic on the network. You can say, is it a DDoS attack, or is everyone downloading the new Max Harrell remix? We need to have that insight. And the more data sources we can correlate on, the better we can make the right decision. Yeah. Also, programming with declarative intent. So we need to tell the network what we want to accomplish. So end user intent or application intent. We want to tell them what we want to accomplish. We don't want to tell them not on how we want them to get it done. And then the network should configure this automatic with a workflow. And the final technology area of self-driving network is self-driving network is decision making. So rules-based versus machine learning. And a key point that we emphasize is that it's not about one or the other. There's a place for both. So taking that into consideration, I want to go into the Juniper approach of the self-driving network. So this is basically our automation stack at a high level. At the bottom, what you don't see here is the physical or virtual infrastructure devices, so the routers, switches, firewalls, etc. I'll touch on that a little bit later. And then there's the Junos operating system on top of all of that, our single programmable Junos. And then we look at our Atom platform, which is the analytics, telemetry, orchestration, and management. And our automation applications run on top of this. So whether it's Contrail, SD-WAN to automatically provision services, or whether it's Northstar, our controller that guarantees SLAs for the WAN, and can really dive in deep into your LSPs and how whether it's how you're running traffic engineering on your network, either RSVP or OSR. And then we have a series of bots that we're launching. So things like network slicing bot. I think I spoke about that in last week's presentation on slicing, network slicing to achieve things like ultra low latency segments. And then the peer bot. And we have something called a health bot, which I'll talk about in a later slide as well, focusing using this presentation to focus a little bit on health bot. And on the right hand side, we have our Eng, Net, and other developer tools, which I'll get to a little bit on training, and open APIs at every point here, right from the silicon in the hardware all the way up to plug into third-party tools. And at the top here again, the idea is to apply all of these automation capabilities and technologies to the network lifecycle to simplify, streamline, and automate as many processes as we can. And like I said, it's really thinking about the workflow automation and how we push that onto the network. So going to HealthBot, and one example of the previous slide that I'd like to speak about is our HealthBot application. And this is a tool to use to monitor infrastructure, and when something goes wrong, it automatically remediates the problem. In some cases, tapping into machine learning algorithms for predictive analytics and making corrections before something goes wrong. So that's predictive analytics. So let's say temperature sensor in a line card, but it exceeds a certain threshold that we've set on the network. HealthBot could call up a script that like automatically reboots the line card. I'll just give you an example. or it looks at doing a sort of environmental checks and checking what's going on in the network. Why is only a certain line card having this problem? So the key pieces of HealthBot, we talked earlier about telemetry and the different ways we collected syslog, SNMP, but moving to open config and gRPC as well. And again, this is a multi-vendor approach, not just Juniper Networks. We've always been very keen on open standards and ensuring that every part of the network sees the benefit of these type of things. So basically, we look at playbooks. So we have a bunch of pre-configured playbooks to respond to events. So like black hole detection, microbursts, layer 3 VPN health checks, interface thresholds, and you can build your own playbooks as well on HealthBot. It's a easy to manage GUI interface where you can operate all of these different functions, and it has open APIs to integrate with OSSs, and we can also test lab this. So basically, at VLabs or Juniper Net, you can take it for a free test run to see how HealthBot works. So I'm just looking at a sort of from an IP perspective again, from a network taxonomy perspective and product mapping. You know, I don't really want to spend too much time on the product. I want to use these sessions to talk more about industry type scenarios and how we can all work together to help the industry and see how we can bring automation, because automation is key to how our industry moves forward. So from a Juniper sort of end-to-end product mapping, our PTX is our core device. We use it for LSR cores or peering edges. Our MX is our flagship universal chassis that basically works at every point of the network. It's very high scale. Our ACX is our access platform. Our QFX is our data center fabric data center switching platform, and our SRX are our firewall platform, down from branch sort of integrated router switching firewall platforms right up to high-end telco platforms. And one of the reasons I added this slide was because of the previous slide we had where we missed the infrastructure part of it. So just to show that it's just not an automation suite, there's a full underlying infrastructure as well that Juniper has. You know, being based in Africa, being an African, I want to highlight a box that we've recently built in Juniper. And the more I look at this box, the more I present about it, the more I talk about it with my customers, the more it becomes the more it's proven that this box was built for Africa. A lot of our customers are really enjoying it. So I just wanted to speak about the MX204 compact router that we've launched probably at the beginning of last year, end of 2018 sometime. It's a 1 RU box. It supports multi-gig RAID interfaces from 1 gig down to 10 gig interfaces. It has full edge cores, full timing capabilities, etc. in there. And it's a really nifty box. So the thing I really like about it is multi-gig RAID. So you can move from 1 gig to 10 gig to 40 gig to 100 gig, all in the change of an SFP, which is really great for customers' TCO and longevity in the network. Today you need a 1 gig, but you know in the future your customers are going to require 10 gig interfaces. There's no forklift required. There's no new chassis required. It's just an SFP change, which I think is fantastic for Africa, because right now we are in that position of moving away from legacy interfaces towards Ethernet, and then from 1 gig Ethernet moving up to higher 10 gig interfaces as well, 40 gig and 100 gig. So this sort of chassis works really well. It is ETSI compliant, and it does have dual power supplies in there. So this is a good one for Africa, and I think it's going to serve our customers well over there as well. So lastly, I just want to touch on some you know, the driving of driving a culture of automation within our businesses. So I mean, I've not always worked for a vendor. I've worked for service providers as well in the past, and you know, we have to make this training and this information, these labs, we have to make it open and readily accessible for all our customers and all our partners in Africa especially. So I mean, a lot of what I've talked about today doesn't really matter unless we implement them, right? And the biggest barrier to all of this is change, and we have overall resistance to change. So whether it's culture, people, processes, and so on, I think the way we change that is by driving the culture of it, and by driving the culture of it, provide training, provide an understanding. So I've just highlighted three, I think, of the most important ones is our Juniper EngNet developer portal for automation. So this has like catalogs of applications, sample use cases, API documentation. Even it's also a tie into the community. So it has libraries on GitHub, collaboration tools. And every day every week we're trying to facilitate communication with our partners, with our customers, with those interested in it, with other people around the world. So in case you've solved a similar problem, you can help someone else. Or if you're facing another problem and somebody else has resolved it, they can help as well. So it's really community based. But also I want to highlight with this is that we're not trying to transform network engineers into software developers. This is more about bringing the easy button to network operations. So on the training, there's plenty of formal training and certifications from Juniper Education Services. Andre is on the call as well. He can definitely deep dive into those. Both and the truth is, it's both free and not free. There's a lot of open free stuff, and then when you get into the deep details and stuff, those are paid for courses. But even more importantly, it's more about informal tools, NRE labs, etc., built by engineers for engineers. So we as a community can upskill ourselves. And then finally is VLabs, the free trial. So today when we've virtualized basically every piece of our network infrastructure. So we shouldn't need to go in and get equipment in just to play around with something or to experiment. So we have the virtual MX, the virtual SRX, the virtual QFX, and in these labs, and then obviously you can try our software products, Contrail and App Formix in there as well. So I think all of this is about making automation more consumable. So whether we're a power user or a beginner, we're here to elevate your skill set, because automation will work across all platforms, across all vendors, and it's integral for our networks to move forward. I think if there's ever been a bigger wake-up call for digitalization and automation, it's been what's been happening with COVID-19. So that's sort of this is sort of where we as Juniper are driving automation, the self-driving networks, and where we're looking. Again, it's a concept, and this is where we are with this concept at the moment. I think it's a remarkable concept, drawing the analogy to the self-driving car, and we definitely have the tools, and we're making a lot of progress in getting there. And I think the biggest and most important is the community, and that's where a lot of the automation comes in, is from the community to ensure that we're resolving problems and we're assisting each other. And just that, remember, automation isn't about robots or bots taking over. It's the humans that are the real heroes in the story, and from them, it's the network operators and our engineers that are the even bigger heroes in today's time, because they're keeping up the most important thing in this in the current crisis we're under, which is the internet, which is ensuring that communications between companies, between people, between governments are occurring. And I think I want to give a shout out to all those NetOps guys that are standing strong and keeping the internet running, especially in Africa. And well done to you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Waseem. Fantastic presentation again. We really appreciate you having given that to us today. Let me just get back to my screen. Right, there we go. Right, so yeah, thank you. That self-driving network certainly is an eye-opener, and I think with the costs of data going down, the data usage going up, it is a case of freeing people up to conduct those more critical roles, to make them more efficient. Yeah, that automation journey slide with the health bot I found really fascinating. I'm going to be revisiting that myself just to learn a bit more. But really, really good presentation there, Waseem, thank you so much for delivering that to us today. Right, so thanks to the 4 OEMs, Oracle Communications, Extreme Networks, Cisco Systems, and Juniper Networks. Thank you for being on Smartexpo today. We really appreciated the time you've put in to deliver to our audience. We thank our audience themselves. You know, your time is valuable, and putting aside 90 minutes to join us on Smartexpo is really valued. Next up, we're going to have a quick review of our main sponsor, Core2 Africa. So yes, Core2 Africa, founded in 2010, turns 10 years this coming month of June. So really exciting for Core2 Africa. Core2 Africa has solutions in these different areas, which we've used. You'll notice as the first 5 themes for the Smartexpo events. So subscriber networks, analytics, automation, and protection. The professional services that Core2 Africa offers are in those areas you see on your screen right now. Also, from the support point of view, Core2 Africa delivers support across the African continent and in Indian Ocean Islands, and obviously different levels of added support over and above the OEM support that we obviously sell with the OEM products. And our locations, just to let you know, Mauritius is where our head office is located, but we have locations in South Africa, Uganda, Rwanda, and Kenya. So that's just a bit of a shout out to the main sponsor. Next up, we have the Spin to Win, and our event coordinator, Denise Imzaik, you're going to come on now. You're going to share your screen, I know, and let us see what you look like, and you're going to tell us who the winner is. We've done a draw, and we have one voucher to give away now, and we've got another voucher to give away to the also drawn from the people that complete the survey. We'll send a survey out after this, and we'll do another draw when that takes place. So Denise, can we see you and hear you?
Good day, everybody.
I don't know if you can see you yet. Can we see you? Hold on. Yeah, we can see you. That's great.
So firstly, Okay. I'd just like to say thank you to everybody for attending our second event, the Smartexpo Virtual Live Networks event. And I look forward to seeing everybody on our third event, which will be on the 10th of June, around analytics. So the winner for today's $100 Amazon voucher, which was sponsored by Juniper Networks, is Victor Charles. Victor, we will be sending you your voucher details shortly, and congratulations. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Denise. Well, that's fantastic. So Victor Charles, congratulations to you. Good that you came on the expo today and you stayed till the end, and you've won that $100 voucher. So that really is great news. Right, so there we have it. The voucher's been won, and we have another one for a person that's completed the survey. So as soon as you see that email come through, go and complete the survey. Help us to make these events more worthwhile for you. Feedback to us, tell us how we can improve them. Right, so the next events, Denise mentioned one of them now. Let me just share with you the next 3 events. On the 10th of June, we have Smartexpo Analytics. On the 24th of June, Smartexpo Subscriber. On the 8th of July, Smartexpo Automation. You may go on to core2africa.net/Smartexpo to register for those events. And don't forget, of course, the wonderful little gift at the end there, the $100 Amazon gift voucher. Sometimes there's more than one, depends on how many gift vouchers are sponsored for the day. Right, so the email that will come to you shortly, you'll see it as a Smartexpo Networks archive. There'll be the event survey, and we will also announce the winner. Well, you've just heard who that is, Victor Charles. Congratulations to you, but we'll put it in the email so we can all see it again. Right, so moving on to our last 1 or 2 slides. To follow us, make sure you follow us on LinkedIn. We are at Smartexpo-Africa-IOI, Indian Ocean Islands, and on Facebook, Smartexpo. So please be sure to follow us. Thank you all for attending. Again, your time is valuable. We appreciate it. We appreciate you being on Smartexpo today with us, and we look forward to having you next time. Thank you and goodbye.